Back in on Huskers Illustrated Radio, presented by the Nebraska Lottery, ESPN 1480 News Talk 900 Columbus. Longtime college football coach, standout at Minnesota and Kansas, Glen Mason with us. Coach Mason, thanks for the time. How are you?
Thanks. You didn't have to say a long time. You make me sound old.
You're not old. You're experienced. That's how I look at it.
I'm old.
Oh, come on now. And you just did an amazing job at your different stops in college football. And now you're doing the TV analyst work, and you provide great coverage for football fans. I want to start out with Nebraska. Obviously, the big news of the day, it's Big Ten, it's Nebraska, and you have a conference title game. You know Nebraska probably better than any analyst and a lot of coaches here. Your 2 cents on this move for the Big Red.
Well, I'm very excited. I've got tremendous respect for the Nebraska football program. I think they bring a lot to the Big Ten. You're right. I've got a lot of experience with Nebraska, not very much of it good from my end. I never beat them while I was at Kansas. I was talking earlier to Barry Alvarez, a longtime Big Ten guy, but more importantly a Nebraska guy. And I said, Barry, most of these people don't know what's coming into this league. And he laughed because he understood what I meant. But Nebraska's just got such a tremendous football tradition. They got such a tremendous commitment. Their fan following is unbelievable. I think that the Big Ten will be enhanced by that following, and I think that the Husker contingency will be delighted with the Big Ten experience.
Well, I think there's several spots that you can find in Camp Randall or Ann Arbor, Penn State, Iowa City that Nebraska fans are going to love to frequent pregame and then go to a great place to play their football with these different road venues. And that's something that Nebraska has not had to deal with, at least if you look objectively at their schedules throughout the years. Be it in the Big 12, their non-conference. Nebraska's had either an Oklahoma or a Texas, and you had maybe a second or a third team in conference be okay. But from a week-in, week-out standpoint, it's very stacked against Nebraska and stacked against other Big Ten teams. Are they going to be able to handle that?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. You look at Nebraska, and again, I'm more familiar from the Big 8 days.
Sure.
And, you're right. There's some great venues, Owen Field in Norman, and but you think about those old Big 8 days, the pageantry that existed, and I'm not trying to slide anybody in the Big 8. The game day pageantry was not what it is in the Big Ten.
Not even close.
And I even think I used to like to go down to Oklahoma, but out of all those settings, Lincoln, Nebraska most closely, I think, resembled what is in the Big Ten conference. And I think that that's what I meant to say before with the Husker fans. When they get an opportunity on a regular basis to visit Camp Randall or the Horseshoe or the Big House, Happy Valley, they're going to like those things. You know what they're not going to find, though? I think that and the Big Ten is going to be somewhat amazed when they go to Lincoln to see those people kind of stuffed in sitting under the stands. Do they still do that? That was the only place that I ever saw.
There's still a row. I mean, it's not as crowded anymore because they're, for God's sake, near 90,000. But, yeah, there's people jammed under the stands.
Yeah, I used to go there, and as a opposing coach warming up, you'd be down there at one end zone, and there were people sitting underneath the stands behind the chain link fence,
yes.
And I used to spar with them a little bit. I used to say, how much did you pay for those tickets under there?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the passion's always going to be there for Nebraska. Glen Mason, former college football coach, Big Ten network analyst with us here, Huskers Illustrated Radio. Coach, you look at where Nebraska's at, and it's been a program that's not been in trouble with the NCAA. Where you coached, you are not in trouble with the NCAA. Several coaches out there do it the right way. There are instances where coaches hire other coaches on their staff that get them in trouble. What's your take on what the NCAA should do to clean up college football? You have issues that are mentioned at Oregon. Coach Fickell, great guy. I hope things go well for him. But he's got a really high hill to climb. And then you have Butch Davis getting fired at North Carolina. USC's on probation. It's everywhere. How do you fix it?
Well, it's not everywhere, but it
seems like it's a lot of predominant places.
It seems to be prevalent right now because a couple high-profile schools have been if I can use the phrase, caught with their hand in the cookie jar in one sense or another. You know, I've always thought that, you know, you don't legislate honesty, integrity, you hire it. And we talk quite a bit about, you know, you have to report everything up the chain of command. Well, I've always thought, because I appreciate you saying that, I was always one of those guys. I went into some tough situations as a head coach into Kent State, into Kansas, into Minnesota, not your typical household names that and weren't winning, and I was able to have somewhat success. And I did it the right way. You might not like the way I coach or not, but no one has ever accused me of
you won and you did it the right way,
running a clean program. But I'm out of coaching now. You know, I did it the right way, and I'm out of coaching. And you'll see some guys, I won't mention their names, all of a sudden they don't do it the right way, but they seem to be skating the system. They'll end up in another job, even though they might have cheated at a former job, and you can put two and two together and figure out who I might be referring to. I always thought that, you know, if I'm the head coach and I hire an assistant coach and he cheats, that's my responsibility. If I want to make sure I run a clean program, I make sure I hire a clean assistant coach. Well, if I'm an AD and I'm worried about my job and I'm tied to the integrity of my coach, I only hire an honest coach. If I'm a president, the same way. So in other words, all of a sudden, if you have a high-profile coach and he's cheating, well, you know what? Everybody that was responsible for employing him, they're guilty also.
No, it's that chain of command, and there's the pressure also, though, to win. There's the pressure from the athletic director to make the right hire. So it's just a circle, and you have this opportunity too to make millions upon millions of dollars, and you have to juggle that, and it's not always easy.
But you look at collegiate athletics, at least let's say football and basketball, and everybody wants to talk about, the problem right now is that there's too much money involved. Yes, there's a lot of money involved, but cheating in college athletics is not something new. You look at it, and there's always been those that they want to say they're great competitors, they'll do anything to win.
They will.
But the other say is, well, you're not a great competitor. How do you take satisfaction out of going in and competing against somebody if you didn't do it fair and square? And, at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. And I guess if you've got a conscience, then you're probably going to do it the right way. If you can live with yourself by not doing it the right way, you might break the rules.
Glenn Mason with us here, Big Ten Network coach. We'll do this again.
Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Back in on Huskers.